Good evening and welcome to the penultimate show of the series with Paul Merton 4-2 in the lead. And if you're interested in the overall score since the first show of Series 1, you should get out more. In the news this week, at London Zoo, there's evidence that the rare Burmese gibbon may have successfully mated with its partner. As the England football team leave their training camp, there are suspicions that Paul Gascoigne may not have stuck to his prescribed diet. And in Russia, as the cat flap shortage begins to bite, one enterprising owner finds a way of enabling his pet to use the letterbox. On Ian Hislop's team is a chef who's made over 140 dishes for Carlton Television. Serves him right for having Pavarotti as a guest. Anthony Worrall Thompson. And with Paul Merton tonight, a Labour MP who wanted to be Prime Minister at the age of 5, which led to an unpleasant playground punch-up with William Hague. Oona King. Round one, and why not? Paul and Oona.
Oh, yes, this is the Japanese Emperor, Akihito, I think, something like that. His first name, Bob. They're turning their back on him. There's prisoner of wars from the Far East. That's sparkling, isn't it? She's got batteries in that, what she's wearing there. That tiara, it's lovely. So that's about what it is about.
I think that's about what it is about.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're clubbing together on this.
Yeah, well, we're the same team, you see.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's our tactic for the evening. Don't know if it's going to pay off or not, we'll find out.
And what was controversial about his visit?
Well, everybody expected a much taller man. He's expressed deep sorrow at what happened, but he can't say sorry. That's inbreeding for you, I suppose. He can't... Solly, it comes out like that.
Yeah. He didn't even say sorry. He didn't say there was any sorrow. The Japanese translator put that bit in.
Oh, really?
He sort of improvised a bit.
He was saying, you know, what's after the soup?
Yeah.
I expressed great sorrow what happened 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And where's the crackers?
And how many war veterans did Tony Blair invite to the state banquet?
None.
One, in fact.
Oh, it's
yes.
one? What, the Duke of Edinburgh? He wouldn't speak to the POWs. They kept saying, we'd like to talk to you about this issue, and he said no, because he's looking forward, not backwards. As Tony does. When it suits him. I like the fact.
And do you know where they visited in London, where they were taken to?
The planetarium, Madame Tussauds.
London Zoo, actually, they went to.
Oh, how charming.
To select supper, obviously. And...
They want to see things behind bars, is it?
yeah. Yes, the light-hearted bonhomie didn't last long, did it? According to reports, the Emperor has hundreds of staff to attend him and his wife, including a food taster and faeces inspector. Best not to eat those at all, I'd have thought. Ian and Anthony.
Jonathan Aitken.
Yeah. His wife, is it?
And his wife.
Daughter?
No,
No.
daughter and sister. The whole Aitken family on an outing.
I lied.
And that's the funniest headline of the year.
So what is the story exactly?
I gather that Mr. Aitken's being charged with perjury, which is obviously a very sad day for everybody. But luckily, the Telegraph, the day before he was charged, managed to avoid the contempt laws and put in Jonathan's version. I lied for my country. And apparently it's taken him a few months to come up with this one, and I have no idea whether it's true, and I can't comment on it, obviously, because the case is now running. So he claimed that he was there as a special agent to supply info about Iranian submarines to the Saudis, and that's why he let them pay his hotel bill and then lied about it. Pretty convincing.
Yes, although it has to be said that Jonathan Aitken has denied this completely, of course, Ian.
Has he? Like, anyway, we can't comment on the case.
Obviously. No. And well done for avoiding commenting.
Yeah.
Aitken's court case against The Guardian collapsed over his claim that he'd stayed in Paris with his wife on his way to dropping off his 14-year-old daughter in Geneva, where she was starting a new term. Well, it's easy to get confused in the chaos of the school run. Paul and Oona, a tabloid tease for you. Rivals go off at the deep end.
This show isn't rigged. I just want to complain. I've got no idea. Have you got? You'll have
It's a
an
good thing
idea.
Question Time isn't run like this. You stand up and ask Tony if he's had a nice day, and he says, I don't know. Didn't know the question was coming.
I know, exactly.
Is this about people? Is this about people, basically?
That's it.
It is, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
about arguments in swimming baths. It's people who've overtaken in various lanes, and the punch-ups have started up in the deep end, and the shallow end. There's been incidents in the foot spas. It's rage, road rage in water.
Yes, pool rage is actually...
Pool
how
rage,
they-
yeah.
And how does this come to light?
How does it come to light?
How did it come to light?
How did it come to light? Well, it happened in a swimming pool, and a journalist heard about it and put it into a newspaper. And gave it that headline.
It is, in fact, a swimmer who unearthed it. Is a guy called Duncan Heenan. He's done something that you've done, in fact.
What?
Kissed a goat.
Losing. Do you care?
In your youth.
In my youth.
Something for which you probably got doused with lard.
Oh, I did this relay, the swimming the channel thing.
Oh, did you swim the channel?
No, well, parts of me did, yes.
Were you involved in a propeller accident or something?
I meant to say I swam parts of the channel.
So this is the phenomenon of pool rage brought about by crowded swimming lanes. The trend was spotted by former Channel swimmer Duncan Heenan, who identified 3 kinds of troublemaker. There's lady swimmers afraid to get their hair wet, so-called hairdo women. Macho men who refuse to be overtaken, so-called lane hogs. And those who thrash violently, oblivious to everyone else in the pool and yet get nowhere. So-called people who are drowning. And finally, Ian and Anthony, anyone for Afterbirth?
Oh, I know this one. This is the whatever they call it, Complaints Commission, complaining about a program called TV Dinners, which is hosted by Hugh Fernley, Whittingstall, yes. And he cooked up a placenta of some woman who wanted to celebrate the birth, presumably, unless she'd kept in the deep freeze. I think I would have done it differently myself. He cooked it with shallots and garlic.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Shallots? No.
Shallots.
What's the recipe? Here's one I made pregnant earlier.
And then he blended it and put it on toast. And I would have added a little red wine myself. In the
You know who was one of the first to cook a placenta on television? Oona.
Was it me? Got to get a Blue Peter badge for it.
Well, someone you're related to, apparently.
Oh, it must be my aunt. Oh, God, I knew I'd get a question right with just a bit of prompting. Yeah.
We'll obviously edit the prompting bit out.
Yeah, my aunt, Miriam Stoppard.
She fried placenta on TV 20 years ago.
With
How old are you?
I'm very distressed about this now. I mean, I go around there for Christmas dinner and things. It's scary.
Good. Well, this is the Broadcasting Standards Commission's censoring Channel 4's TV dinners over a recipe for placenta stir-fry. The placenta was fried with shallots and garlic, flambéed, and finally served to 20 eager guests on focaccia bread, at which point the gynaecologist said, "Shouldn't I cut the umbilical cord first?" So at the end of that round, the teams are like Swampy's dog, neither having a proper lead, sharing as they do 4 points each. Before the grim inevitability of round 2, the brief reprieve of our caption competition. And we'll be back for some amusing captions, guests permitting. Round 2 this week is called Name That Food, a game conceived in obvious deference to this week's panel. Anthony, who is of course a chef, and Oona, who is of course a woman and therefore spends most of the time in the kitchen.
Let's kill him.
2 news stories with an edible ingredient. Paul and Oona, name it.
This is the great cheese roll of Little Dodlin. Every year they have a cheese roll, but if you saw at the beginning of that, the cheese started rolling downhill and the bloke just sat on it. And everybody else ran past him. They don't actually need the cheese just to run down the hill.
It was abandoned, wasn't it?
No, it was typical sort of health and safety busybodies saying, oh, lots of people are injured running after this cheese, so we won't have the event, and then no one will be injured. And these people said we're perfectly entitled to run after a cheese.
They did it after dark on very flat land. And only 2 people took part. Very, very slowly. In fact, they were just walking down a high street with a bit of cheese on a stick in front of them.
Yes.
Tasty.
It is in Gloucester, isn't it? And it's a double Gloucester.
Is there such a thing as single Gloucester? Or?
I guess there must have been. I don't think I've come in contact. I'm sure I should have learnt about this. I'm waffling now. I am assured that there is probably a single Gloucester.
A single Gloucester, right.
And a triple.
No, I don't think there's a triple.
No?
No.
Well, if it's a single and a double, then surely it's not beyond the wit of man to put the 2 together and make a triple.
Oh, yes, you can add that. That's very good.
Yeah.
Or 2 doubles, you make a quadruple.
Don't be ridiculous. You're wandering into the realms of fantasy now.
Lost it completely. This is the Cooper's Hill cheese rolling competition featuring a large double Gloucester. Concern grew about the event last year when several people from the wilds of Gloucestershire were seriously injured. One local man broke 7 of his fingers, although his other hand was completely unhurt. Ian and Anthony, what, where, and more to the point, why?
Yeah. Those are tomatoes, aren't they?
They are tomatoes, yes, you're right. Must be some sort of festival, I think. Or perhaps it's not.
It's how they make tomato ketchup, isn't it? You get hundreds of blokes chucking tomatoes at each other for hours and jumping on it, and then you take all the gubbins and the stuff and you rub it all over the blokes, and then you put it in a bottle.
I suggest they're Mediterranean somewhere, really.
Spanish, I think.
Spanish? I thought
Why is that,
perhaps
then?
Greek or Italians, do you think?
I don't know. There was a certain Spanish air. There was a sort of insouciance which I would normally associate with Barcelona. That surprised you, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It slightly
The word
surprised me.
insouciance.
Yeah, exactly.
Also surprised me because you're right. It is the Tomatina Festival in Buñol, Spain.
Buñol.
And any ideas how it starts?
Oh,
With
just
a lorry.
someone nudges someone's pint and then the whole
The Tomatina Festival dates from 1945 when disgruntled locals spontaneously bombarded the mayor, a tradition that might be well worth resurrecting here if Geoffrey Archer becomes mayor of London. Though obviously no need to take them out of the tin for him. Which culinary treats mean at the end of our second course that Ian and Anthony are looking distinctly red-faced, trailing as they are 7-5. Round 3 as our odd one out, and vice versa. Paul, Robert De Niro, Benjamin Netanyahu, John Redwood, and George Best.
Oh dear. George Best. Anything to do with boutiques?
Bestie was evicted from his house, wasn't he? And
Bestie?
Well,
Yeah.
you see him down the pub sometime. Netanyahu was...
Netty.
Netty. He's lost a bit of land. He's given away 11% or 9% of Israel, isn't he, or something? Robert De Niro, I think, is the odd man out, personally, but I don't know why.
So that's just a guess, really.
Well, it was a logical guess.
It was a logical guess, given that he's one of the four.
I think it's people who've got something to do with air hostesses, either married them or in the plane business. Because Netanyahu's wife is an ex-air hostess. Redwood's wife is something to do with British Airways. Robert De Niro's wife is called Tracy. She does the long haul to Hong Kong. And George Best must have married an air hostess at some point.
Why must he have done?
I don't know, late 60s, early 70s. Everyone did.
My dad didn't. Oh, he did, actually.
George Best has, in fact, married an air hostess.
So they all have, except Redwood, whose wife employs stewardesses.
For British Airways is the right answer.
Ah.
Very good. You wanted to be an air hostess, didn't you, Oona?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That or Prime Minister?
Yeah, and now I just want to be an air hostess.
Robert De Niro already has several kids by previous relationships. The actor's eldest son, Raphael, was named after the Italian hotel in which he was conceived, although De Niro sees less of his other two children, Hilton and Travelodge car park. Oona, your glitzy showbiz chums are Marilyn Monroe, Bertolt Brecht, Miriam Stoppard, and John Major.
Bertolt Brecht. Now, he was a geezer, wasn't he? And
He was certainly
That's the
male.
title of his biography.
it was,
Bertolt Brecht, bit of a geezer.
yeah, he's a playwright. Now, Marilyn Monroe was married to a playwright, wasn't she? Mm-hmm. My aunt, I think that's the only thing I know with any certainty, actually, on this show at all this evening, is that
she is your aunt.
She's my aunt, yeah. And she was married to a playwright. And
Do you want to name him?
Uncle Tom. John Major, probably we've all been doing Norma Down, you know, and actually she was a playwright. So
right.
I'd say it's old Bertolt that's the odd one out.
Is the right answer.
Oh, yes.
Agony aunt Miriam Stoppard taught her children to obey commands issued by short blasts on a whistle. This has been proven to be a successful way to bring up children.
I have to
Is this
interject
rubbish?
here. Now, hey, now I know how Hanif Kurishi's sister feels or whatever.
Hey.
This is family slander here, thank you very much. Slag me off, but leave my cousins out.
Are you suggesting this isn't true?
No.
Ian, Diana Ross, Douglas Fairbanks, Horatio Nelson, and Nigel Lawson.
I think this is diet books. Nigel Lawson wrote a diet book called How I Lost Pounds. Horatio Nelson. It was quite a bestseller in its day.
Did they all lose parts of their body? I think Horatio Nelson lost some bits, didn't he? An arm and an eye.
Rumour has it, yes.
I think Douglas Fairbanks only had one testicle, from what I understand. And old... No, I think Fatty Lawson lost his stomach, really. So they've all lost parts of their body, really.
Apart from Diana Ross,
Who lost her eyes?
Surely you didn't have to be told that, Angus. Is Nigel Lawson the only one who's failed an audition for Long John Silver by getting the wrong... Oh, a parrot! Is it something about, they've all named children after themselves? Nigel Lawson, Nigella Lawson.
Yes.
Douglas Fairbanks Jr. Lord Nelson, Diana Ross, Diana Ross. Lord Nelson's the odd one out.
is the wrong answer.
It's Diana Ross is the odd one out.
Diana Ross is the right one, yes, well done. Who brilliantly gave her son her own surname, thereby condemning him to a life as Ross Ross. What's your brother's name, Oona?
Slater. What are you going to make out of that? No.
Yes, I don't need to go through all
What's
that
your
again.
brother's name?
Which one?
Any of them.
His first name.
Oh, I see. Bill or Alan?
Right.
Let's try Alan. What's his first name?
Alan.
That's a bit of a coincidence, isn't it?
Nigel Lawson recently gave up alcohol in an attempt to lose weight, switching instead to quantities of Diet Coke, although he decided to stop when he found that he was taking a break every morning to watch the builder over the road take his top off. And finally, in this round, Anthony, your odd couples are Julie Goodyear and Mohammed Al Fayed, and Shirley Bassey and Robin Cook.
Oh, he looks like me.
He's had a cheap skin graft. They've glued his hand to his face.
I think Mohammed possibly is, or maybe it's Robin Cook. I'm getting confused. Three of them are the old. These three. You can't see those three. Yes. It's the blonde. Good. They're all gay icons, aren't they?
Robin Cook certainly is.
Right.
Except for maybe Mohammed.
This is about trouble with your staff, with your personal staff, isn't it?
It might be. In what way?
Shirley Bassey, her personal assistant, sued her for wrongful dismissal.
Yes.
Julie Goodyear's obviously had an argument with her dresser. How could you send me out like that? I looked ridiculous. So she had an argument with somebody. Mohammed Al Fayed, there's been various rumours about various female members of his staff in private. This week, I think, there was a whole thing about it.
A lot of them are tribunals rather than rumours.
Yeah. Absolutely. I wasn't sure exactly legally where we stood tribunals, and Robin Cook married his secretary.
So
he's the odd one out.
Yes, I'll give you 2 points for that. That is the right answer. The answer is they've all had personal assistants walk out on them, except for Robin Cook, who sacked his PA to make way for his mistress, as you may remember. Whose name was?
We don't remember that at all.
Mrs. Woman. Mrs. Woman.
Not actually Mrs. Woman.
Was it
no.
Mrs.
Is it
Woman?
not on your pages?
No.
Gaynor, remember, say Gaynor.
Gaynor,
No,
go on,
no.
say it.
Hello, Robin,
Don't
hello,
mention
Gaynor.
Gaynor.
Not Margaret anymore, crossed out. Hello, Robin, hello, Gaynor.
After the revelation of Robin Cook's affair with his PA Gaynor Reagan, Alistair Campbell apparently told him, "You have an hour to decide whether or not to end your 28-year-old marriage." He then stroked his white cat and laughed as Cook's chair was lowered slowly into... So it looks like Ian and Anthony are heading for the chop. Behind as they are, 13-7.
Oh dear.
And so to the fumbling climax that is our final missing words round, including a few, if not less, from this week's guest publication, the indispensable Parasitology Today.
House magazine for lawyers.
So, eyes down, look in, on. Half of what unsafe?
East Anglia. They're all nutcases. They say it themselves in East Anglia. They say it themselves. We're all nutters here. You would see as you're driving along, you're entering East Anglia, home of the nutcase.
Is it condoms or something?
It isn't, in fact. I can see where you're coming from, but... it is...
Well, you've got a better view than the rest of us.
It is, in fact, Wendy houses. Next, what embarrassed Labour?
Me?
Class sizes.
Yes, record class sizes. Who have Labour blamed?
Hey,
The
do I
last
get
government.
a party political broadcast? No.
Certainly.
Oh, right, excellent, excellent.
Who's to
Well,
blame for class sizes going up? Take it
Right.
away, Oona.
OK, who's to blame for class sizes going up is... Not us, no. Because...
Is it the wicked Tories?
Yes! I had my free milk taken away from me under the Tories. It's true that Labour isn't giving it back, but I mean...
Who drinks it now, then?
I don't know. It's a scam.
I think it's Whitehall mandarins. I mean, they get
It was
up,
clocked.
they go to work and they drink all this free milk.
Yeah.
They hang around school playgrounds waving empties going, yeah. I've seen them.
Next, why don't we have a what?
A ruddy good party.
A pot to piss in.
Says the Queen.
Yes.
Says Japanese Emperor.
It is, in fact, schistosomiasis vaccine. And finally, pupils should what, says Minister?
Vote Labour.
Go.
Kiss me.
Which minister would this be?
Is that a Church of England minister?
That'd be Stephen Byers, wouldn't it?
I'll give you...
Oh, is he the one who didn't know what 8 times 7 was?
I don't
So
know.
that was the
What do you mean
minister.
you don't
I
know?
don't know, because
Minister
I
of
don't know what 8
Education,
times
wasn't
7
it?
is, so I don't know.
You can't ignore the whole of recent history. You can't blare it out.
Why not?
What are 8 sevens?
56.
I don't know.
He said 54.
I've got no idea.
Anyway, it was the wrong answer. The official Labour answer is I can't put a figure on it.
Well, you're right. The minister in question was the Education Minister, Baroness Blackstone, but the answer was pupils should play poker, according to her, although she was probably bluffing. Which extremely light entertainment means the end of tonight's showtime, and as the curtain falls, it appears that this week's squash tomatoes are Ian and Anthony with 10, whilst this week's big cheeses are Paul and Oona with 16. But before we release them back into the community, the triumphant return of our caption competition.
It's the dog on the second left as we look, saying to the other dog, he's saying, what's he doing? And the other one dog saying, he's trying to focus. He says, what, all of us? He doesn't need a tripod, does he, lady?
On which fitting note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Anthony Worrall Thompson, Paul Merton and Oona King. And I leave you with news that in Parkhurst Prison, the governor fulfills his promise to give every inmate his own cell. In Kensington, Prince Charles does his bit for Cool Britannia. And as candidates declare themselves for the post of Mayor of London, the pigeons in Trafalgar Square spot Jeffrey Archer. Good night.